law enforcement. Barclay's story is part of a larger ploy by the DEA, federal prosecutors, and state attorneys general to hold all sorts of intermediaries responsible for people's opioid addictions. It's time to call a halt. This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy. We walked around for 35 minutes just in the parking lot looking for this car. The passion. UVM schedules the way they do to get as high a seed as possible in the NCAA tournament and to get as much tournament prep as they can because they're not going to get it from their league. The opinions on all your favorite teams. The organization should be taking care of Mac rather than Mac taking care of the organization. This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com. What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Full show on this Thursday, all 90 minutes. No Red Sox baseball. We'll actually talk a lot about the Red Sox today, though. Buster Olney of ESPN will stop by in about 15 minutes. We'll also get into UVM men's basketball. Their conference schedule announced. We'll tell you what you need to know there, and our six-pack of NFL questions coming up at about 6:10. And myself, Mike Trimboli, and my old radio partner, Arnie Spanier, we had our first men's league hoops game yesterday. I'll tell you the twists and turns of that one a little after 6 o'clock, too. We had a lot of fun last night. You can get in on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. It's your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. You can also check us out on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and my Twitter account. Kyle is checking us out on Facebook Live. Appreciate him and all of you that do that every single day.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
Peter in Williston's pumped. He's on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line saying, go get him, Brady. We're looking forward to a full show. Me too. The opening thoughts in the Brady Farkas Show were brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. We will get to football. We will get to the Patriots. But I want to start with the Red Sox, who lost last night to the Yankees 5-3. And last night, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but last night was another gut punch game, was it not? It was another gut punch game. You got Bayo, who's pitching well. He K'd Stanton 3 times. He's strutting off the mound when he does it in the first inning. The kid in his first Sox-Yankees game goes 5 innings. It was fun to watch. He's throwing 97 miles an hour. He's got the changeup. He's got the power sinker that ties up Josh Donaldson. It was fun to watch. And then, like so many Red Sox games this year, the wheels just came off. The Bogarts error in the 5th. Connor Wong throwing the ball away. J.D. Martinez missing first base. Abe Almonte, who, my goodness, came up with the Mariners 7 years ago and was terrible then, misplaying the 9th inning ball. Just another game where what can go wrong did go wrong for the Red Sox. But I don't really want to talk about the game itself last night, because the only thing that interests me about the Red Sox right now is the future of the Red Sox. And I want to react to an interesting tweet that I saw from our friend Tyler Milliken. Tyler Milliken of the Jared Carabas podcast was on this show a couple weeks ago. And he tweeted out simply just a picture of Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers and said, I'm paraphrasing, imagine how the conversation will change with the Red Sox if they re-up both Bogaerts and Devers this offseason. Imagine basically what that will do for the conversation, as if taking care of those two will quell the fan backlash and kind of re-jumpstart the organization. I got to tell you, I disagree on that sentiment. I want the Red Sox to bring back Xander Bogaerts, and they 1,000% do need to lock up Rafael Devers. That is all true. But that's no longer enough for me. Okay, just simply locking up
Devers long term and bringing back Bogarts, that is no longer enough for me, because I have seen this organization with Bogarts and with Devers. And guess what? It's in last place. This team needs much more than Bogarts and Devers. Signing them long term, look, that's a great feel-good story about locking up hometown guys, and that is incredibly important. I'm with you there. But if you are looking to build a winner again, and you're looking to fully satisfy the fan base, you better be building a winner. This offseason needs to be about more than just them. This team with them hasn't been close to good enough. You're probably going to lose J.D. Martinez. You've already lost Christian Vasquez's production at catcher. You're probably going to lose multiple starting pitchers, and you need a bunch of bullpen arms. You can't just bring back Bogarts and re-sign Devers to a long-term deal and expect everybody to just say, okay, Red Sox are good. No. Re-signing Bogarts and locking up Devers, that's a good start. But that is not enough for me to quell my tone on the Red Sox. To me, like, those are prerequisites. The Red Sox have a ton of needs even with those guys. If they go away or one of them goes away, those needs become even greater. So Bogarts and Devers, like, they've got to be there next year. And then you've got to add way, way, way on top of that. A healthy Trevor Story will help. Tristan Casas being there next year and hopefully good, that will help. Hosmer being there can help. Bayo, they're all going to help. But there's a lot of stuff to do. And that's why I'm saying the Red Sox need to make other moves. They need to make additional moves. Look, it could be that splashy move like Aaron Judge, which we'll talk about in the 6 o'clock hour. It could be the savvier moves that I've called for, like bounce back injured candidate Michael Conforto, Mitch Haniger, a veteran presence. You could make a splashy move in the rotation like Carlos Rodon or Justin Verlander if he hits the market. You could bring in more savvy moves like bring back Waka and go add to the bullpen in multiple places. You could make a trade with a rebuilding team like the Royals or the Pirates or the Diamondbacks. There's multiple ways to get it done, but the Red Sox need outside help. And Tyler Milliken of the Jared Carabas podcast is a great guy. Again, on this show 2 weeks ago, really knows his stuff and really knows the Red Sox. So when he says, like, hey, bringing in Devers and Bogarts will change the conversation, it will, but it's not enough. It's not enough anymore, okay? You're going to have Chris Sale. That'll help in theory. I don't count on that for anything. You might get James Paxton. You're going to have a healthy story. But there's so much to do. You have a long shopping list. And Devers and Bogarts are just the tip of the iceberg. If you do that and think you're good to go, you're not. Okay? You're just not. I mean, look at the other teams that are really good. Right? The Mets, this offseason, traded for Chris Bassett. Signed Mark Canha. Signed Starling Marte. The Braves were the world champions. They lost Freddie Freeman. They instantly go right out and trade for Matt Olson. They signed Kenley Jansen, who's got 30-plus saves, so struggling of late, but they signed Kenley Jansen. Seattle, okay, young team. They go out. They trade for Eugenio Suarez and Jesse Winker, and they sign Robbie Ray, and they trade for Adam Frazier. And in season, they trade for Luis Castillo. Toronto loses Robbie Ray, signs Kevin Gausman. Oh, by the way, we're going to trade for Matt Chapman. The teams, these teams that are good, they all had solid bases. But then they went out and they added from the outside. That is what the Red Sox need to do. You can't just sign Devers and Bogarts and bring in a bunch of Rob Refsnyders and Garrett Richards. Like, those guys can help, but it can't. There's got to be way more to this puzzle. And I hope and trust that Chaim Bloom knows that. I'm looking at next year and I'm thinking, okay, Nick Pivetta in the rotation and Brian Bayo in the rotation and hopefully Chris Sale in the rotation. And then I got work to do. Waka can come back, sure. Who's my fifth guy? Verlander, Rodon, somebody who's a big player there. somebody who I've traded for. How about Zach Gallen, who had, 41 consecutive scoreless innings for the Diamondbacks a little while ago? Maybe I could go acquire him. And there I can make a big move to add to my rotation, like the Mets did with Bassett. Oh, I need bullpen help? Well, hey, Edwin Diaz is a free agent at the end of the year. Maybe Edwin Diaz can be my closer next year. And now I've got Diaz and Whitlock and Houck. Or maybe I can put Whitlock in the rotation, and I've got Houck and Diaz, and I go sign Taylor Rogers too. I don't know. There's ample ways you can do this, but Devers and Bogarts are not enough on their own. It's a good start. There's got to be way more there. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line is always open, 802-585-3026. We're going to talk a lot about the Aaron Judge stuff in the 6 o'clock hour because the conversation is reaching a fever pitch here about Judge. Red Sox fans are certainly antsy for Judge to be a Red Sox in 2023. Do that in the 6 o'clock hour. Right now, we've got Buster Olney on the phone line a couple minutes early. So what we'll do is we'll get to Buster Olney of ESPN in about 30 seconds once we play the sounder.
All the insight into everything going on in baseball. It's time for our weekly conversation with ESPN baseball insider and Vermont native, Buster Olney.
I'm just about ready to bet the family farm in Vermont.
On the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
All right, ESPN MLB insider Buster Olney is on the phone line with us now. He joins us every single Thursday, usually at 5:45, a couple of minutes early today. Always grateful to have Buster and his time. Red Sox off today after losing those 2 games against the Yankees. Buster, thanks for being with us. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's going on, Brady?
Well, appreciate you being with us as always. We'll get to baseball in a second, but curious, have you printed out your Vikings playoff tickets yet?
I must say I'm kind of in a quandary because, as you know, going into the season, my feeling was the Vikings were locked in mediocrity, and they come out with this opening incredible performance against the Packers, and people are talking about how good they look, and I sort of feel guilty about jumping on the bandwagon of the team I rooted for as a kid, but on the other hand, I've been tortured for so long by them. Maybe I shouldn't feel guilty, right? They've never won a Super Bowl. They're 0 for 4 in my lifetime. Let's go. Maybe this is the year.
Maybe this is the year. Hey, it's certainly not the year for the Red Sox. Let's talk a little Aaron Judge. We've talked, a bit about Judge and the Red Sox fit over the last couple of months, but I am curious about this. I personally am of the camp that he is not a good investment for the Red Sox at 10 years and $350 million. But I am of the mind he's a great investment for the short term. I'm just curious, do you think a 1-year, $55 million deal or a 3-year, $150 million deal, is that something in the realm that he and his representation would consider, or does it have to be length driven?
Well, first off, it's interesting. You mentioned, is this something that Judge and his representation would consider? You and I have been around baseball long enough to know that there's a perception in some cases, like with Scott Boras, that he tends to drive the ship when it comes to decisions by the client. In this case, this is all Aaron Judge. He absolutely controls his relationship, I think, with his agent. My sense is that he's looking for the big long-term deal, that, the number of years is going to be really important. I think if the Red Sox are prepared to overpay for any player and essentially hand a blank check to someone, they should do it with Rafael Devers, who's 5 years younger than Judge.
Let's talk a little bit about Scott Boras, too, because we had an interesting talk yesterday with Tom Caron of Nesson, and we were talking about Xander Bogaerts. It's pretty apparent that Xander Bogaerts wants to come back to Boston. But TC said his fear is that Scott Boras will start his conversations with Bogaerts by kind of poisoning the water in Boston to get him open to looking at other teams. Is that just an irrational fear by TC, or is that how agents do this kind of thing?
Well, there's no doubt that in a lot of cases you hear stories about how agents like to point out to their clients where, the agent portrays the team as being disrespectful or not not acting on the best in the best interest of the player. I would say in this case, the Red Sox have poisoned the well. Like, the Red Sox don't need any help because you and I talked about this in the spring when they made a 1-year extension offer to Bogarts. That really set a table for what I think will be a really difficult negotiation unless either Xander or the team waves the white flag and makes this deal happen. Because you think about the Red Sox, the amount of money left on the table for Bogarts after this year, 3 years, $60 million, plus the 1 year, $30 million extension offer, was within a week after they gave Trevor Story $140 million. That was within a couple weeks after Javier Baez got $140 million. They offered $50 million less to Bogarts. So the question, in talking with executives of other teams, if you're the Red Sox and you're in these negotiations, what's your next offer going to be? Because you certainly have postured in such a way that you're not going to be prepared, it doesn't seem like, to offer 160, 180, $200 million, which would represent a complete white flag from those early negotiations. And if you're Xander Bogarts and you sniffed your nose at $90 million and you saw Story and Baez get $140 million, can you accept anything less than, say, 150, 160? Would the Red Sox come close to that? I don't know. I do think that the water's poisoned for the talks between Bogarts and Boston.
Let's talk a little Nathan Eovaldi, because his representation and the Red Sox allegedly haven't spoken at all about a possible deal to bring him back. Do you think the Red Sox should be looking to bring Eovaldi back, or should they be looking in other directions?
Look, it all would depend on the price. Eovaldi is highly respected for his work ethic, for how he has changed and evolved during the course of his career. You do have a situation where he's already had 2 Tommy John surgeries. Doctors have told me, as I told you in the past, that generally speaking, you look at a 7-year mark, from a Tommy John surgery as being the time when you enter danger zone. He's still kind of in the middle of that 7 years, I believe. I think it's like 5 years since the second procedure. But that would have to be a concern. I think it would come down to, whether or not the Red Sox are comfortable with the price that's going to be out there. I think it's more likely that Michael Wacha is someone that they take a hard look at because of how good he's been this year.
Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider, with us here in the Brady Farkas Show. Red Sox off today, back at it this weekend when they take on the Kansas City Royals. Hey, Buster, let's move to some of the national stuff, which we don't always get to here. Do you look at the shift alterations? I won't call it a banning because you can still shift. You just have to do it more creatively. But do you look at the shift alterations as a cop-out to help mediocre players? Or is it a restoration of the way baseball, the way it was supposed to be played?
Yeah, I think it's just purely an artificial device to try to improve offense. That's where baseball's gotten to, where they want to increase not only pace, but they want to increase pace of action. And, they feel like that there's a general feeling that, the big left-handed slugger who's been ripping balls into that first base hole for years has really been hurt by the fact that, you placed an infielder over in that hole. Now, I think you're right. There still will be shifts. I had A.J. Hinch, the manager of the Tigers, on my podcast on Wednesday, and mentioned the possibility that you're going to see some teams effectively field a 2-man outfield with a third outfielder being shifted into that hole where we, in recent years, have seen infielders. There's going to be a lot of creative decisions by teams on how to use defenders. But this is all about trying to juice the offense and trying to get some numbers back in because, as you know, it's been ugly in recent years.
I completely agree with A.J. Hinch. Like, on Friday, I was so pumped about this, and by Monday, I was thinking the exact same thing that he's thinking. So I am worried about that also. Another thing I do wonder about, though, I kind of fear a casualty of this decision is that the pitch-to-contact guys are going to be weeded out. Like, the guys who now get around lack of stuff because you can put the defenders in a way that helps them out, those guys are going to be hurt. Is that a real fear that strikeouts are going to become more important and you're going to have to be able to K guys to get around lack of shifting and, the Rich Hills and Marco Gonzalez's aren't going to be able to cut it as much?
I think it's fair supposition. Let's face it, every time they do some of these rule changes, there's unintended consequences. On the plus side, the infielders who've been protected defensively by the shifts, they're going to be more exposed, and it might be more difficult for those guys. It might place a higher value on a very rangy infielder. Been hearing all year from the Red Sox about how good they feel like Trevor Story is defensively at second base. Maybe his value goes up. On the other hand, I think Bogarts would be a guy you probably would say he's been helped by the defensive shifts to some degree. So they're going to be pluses and minuses throughout. And I think you're right. I think teams might value the strikeout more, and we've seen the sport trending toward that anyway. But now without help coming from the infield, that might be a result.
Are the Mets going to blow this in the National League East?
Brady, I don't think they're blowing it. I think it's a case of a great team playing out of their minds. I haven't looked at the updated numbers this morning, but I'm pretty sure since about June 1st, the Mets have been playing on a 95-win pace. Okay, so it's not like they're playing bad, but on the other hand, the Braves have been playing at like 115-win pace.
Yeah.
Like it was a defending champion that has seen this influx of rookies. Spencer Strider. Their center fielder, Michael Harris II, Vaughn Grissom, who's been playing second base. Having all those guys back, seeing Ronald Acuna Jr. sort of get settled in as we go through the season, and he comes back from his knee surgery. That is a great team to a degree that I got to say I'm already sort of locked in, and no matter how the regular season ends and whether the Braves are a wild card team or they actually run down the Mets in the National League East, I'm picking them to be the first repeat champion since the 98 to 2000 Yankees.
Most disappointing team in baseball, White Sox or the Giants?
It's funny because we had the Giants in Sunday Night Baseball last week. We're going to have them again on this week. I almost feel like that the Giants of 2021, who won 107 games, that was simply an outlier. That was propped up. That team last year performed great, but they had real core stars in Buster Posey, future Hall of Famer, in Brandon Crawford, who had a tremendous offensive year, best offensive year of his career, Brandon Belt. And maybe it was a mistake by the Giants to count on the fact that they could hold it together despite losing all their guys. They're going to probably see the greatest drop in the number of wins for any 100-win team in the history of baseball. Because they're going to wind up losing, more than half their games. The White Sox should be in that competition. I personally, as we go along here, I think the Red Sox are in the competition for the most disappointing team in baseball. I was reminded over the weekend of a Bill Simmons tweet from the spring when I think the Red Sox over-under was like 85, 86, 87, something in that range. And he took the over, and he was like, what kind of bad over-under is that? And I don't mean to pick on Bill because I would have been in the same boat with him, but he's right. In the spring, you would have thought they would have been a lot better than that. Instead, it looks like they're going to finish in last place in their division. So they've been pretty disappointing.
Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider. Buster with us every single Thursday. Buster, appreciate your time. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
Okay, Brady. Thanks for talking.
Absolutely. Always. Thank me for talking. Thank you for talking. Buster Olney coming on every single week with us. Great stuff, as always. The Nathan Eovaldi thing, I think, is very interesting. If I'm the Red Sox, I'm interested in Eovaldi, but to Buster's point, only at a price that greatly benefits me. I don't think the Red Sox need Nathan Eovaldi next year. I like him. He works hard. He can be a leader on a staff. I get all that. The Red Sox do not need him. I'm only bringing him back if the price becomes advantageous for me. And frankly, I don't think Eovaldi would want to do that. Like 1 year, $10 million? Yes, I would do that if I were the Red Sox. But don't you think Eovaldi could get 3 for 35 somewhere else? Probably. Now, does he want to go play for the Royals or for the Pirates or for the Rangers? He's from Arlington, so maybe he would want to go there. But, does he want to do that? I don't know. But interesting stuff. I look at the Red Sox next year, and I think to myself, Pivetta, Bello, that's 2. I'd bring back Waka also. That'd be 3. You have Sale. I don't count on him, but he's penciled in very lightly in pencil. That's 4. And then you got room for 1 or 2 other acquisitions or 1 or 2 other guys. Maybe Whitlock is that guy. Maybe Cutter Crawford's in the mix. Winkowski's in the mix. I want to go sign Rodon or Verlander or somebody like that. You know, that's all possible. This team doesn't need Nathan Eovaldi as far as I'm concerned. You know what I'd love to do? I'd love to bring Nathan Eovaldi and put him in the bullpen. I don't think he'd go for that. But if I could sign Nathan Eovaldi and try to make him my closer, that would be something I'd be down for. 100 miles an hour, throw strikes. That's something I would consider. And maybe I'll mention that to TC as well the next time we speak to him next week, or maybe to Buster. Say, like, hey, do you think Eovaldi would have any interest in this? I don't know if he would, but he showed the willingness and ability to throw out of the bullpen in multiple playoff runs. That's something I might be interested in. Just like we said, by the way, like 2 outfielders are going to become commonplace for some MLB teams. Incredibly frustrating. I don't know. I want baseball to be baseball, and playing with another outfielder standing in the infield, standing short in the outfield is not something that I want. I want hits to be hits, and I get it. There's a risk when teams will play with a right center fielder and a left center fielder, or with a right fielder and a left fielder. There's a huge risk in that, because instead of risking a single, now you're risking a triple or an inside the park homer. But I don't want to see it, but we're going to. What else do we take from Buster? Buster says the Red Sox are among the most disappointing teams in baseball. Among, yes, but the most disappointing team? No, I don't think so. And the reason why, the Red Sox play in the best division in the sport. And I'm not giving them an out or an excuse, but them finishing low was always a possibility. Now, we didn't think they'd finish last. We didn't think they'd finish behind Baltimore, but it was always a possibility that they'd finish 4th in this division. So I always had that in the back of my mind. The White Sox, that's a team that I've never anticipated not being in the playoffs. And there's a possibility the White Sox could finish 3rd in their division, which is the worst division in the sport. I mean, they play in a bad division. Huge money spent on free agents like Grandal and Liam Hendricks and Kendall Graveman. They got Joe Kelly. They've spent a bunch of money on locking up a young core. They made the gutsy move to bring back Tony La Russa. They've got a ton of great farmhands. Like, there's infighting between La Russa and his coaching staff. So, yeah, I think the White Sox have to be the team that is most disappointing. The Red Sox are up there with the Giants and with the White Sox, but I would have to say the White Sox. We're going to get to the Judge stuff in the 6 o'clock hour. Buster made the interesting point, kind of like I thought. Judge wants a long-term deal. This idea you could get him for 1 mega year, probably not likely. If I'm the Red Sox, I'd be interested in that, but I don't think that he would. And Buster is basically telling you that he's not. And I also think Buster's right that if the shift, changes do work out, that a guy like Xander Bogaerts could be adversely impacted. Absolutely, 100%. So I think Bogaerts probably has been propped up at times by the use of this shift. 802-585-3026, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line is always open to you. We'll get the CBS National News Update, and then I'll tell you how my big basketball game went. Me, Mike Trimboli, and my old radio partner Arnie all on the same team. How did our opener go last night?
We'd like to thank Eric Chalou of Williamstown for the purchase of his Big Dog Daddy Lariat at Lamoille Valley Ford. I'm with Rick the Kid to tell you how we're breaking records here at Lamoille Valley.
That's right, folks. The Big Dog Daddy year-end clearance sale is now extended through the month of September. While many dealers have little or no inventory, take it from me. At Lamoille Valley Ford, you won't have to settle for an ugly car, truck, or SUV. As Vermont's #1 volume Ford dealer, Lamoille Valley Ford has the largest selection of both new and certified pre-owned Fords in the state, and we're ready to make deals like this. With a purchase, lease, or special order of any Ford during the month of September, you'll receive up to $500 to spend on accessories. That's huge. Also, if you're in need by the end of the year, don't get caught flat-footed. Order the exact Ford of your dreams by taking advantage of Lamoille Valley Ford's volume approach, and let us get your new truck or SUV ordered and built fast.
Woo! So drive Route 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and the Big Dog Daddy year-end clearance sale happening right now at Lamoille Valley Ford.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV. This
is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dell Small Business.
I'm Stacey Lynn in Washington. The battle over the president's immigration policies has heated up even more, with buses of migrants dropped off in D.C.
A little bit after 7 a.m., we got the notice that the migrants had been dropped off at the vice president's house.
2 planes full of migrants were taken to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts as well. They were Venezuelan, and at a rally in Florida, Venezuelan leaders denounced the move.
We are here to tell Governor DeSantis we demand him to stop using our pain, our suffering, and our desperation for his political gain.
A massive rail worker strike has been averted for now. The president calls the tentative deal a win for the country. And Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg told our Stephen Portnoy,
we really think this is going to make workers better off. We think it's going to make the rail companies better able to recruit and retain great workers, and it makes the country better off by stopping the possibility of a rail stoppage once it's agreed to, and benefits customers and everybody who depends on our rail.
He said the agreement reached could serve as a model for other union negotiations in the future. For the first time in nearly 2 months, the residents of Jackson, Mississippi no longer have to boil their water.
Governor Tate Reeves. Moving forward, we will continue to monitor the system. Additional testing will be administered to ensure continued water quality.
Many residents of the mostly minority capital city remain highly skeptical of the quality of water from the city's long-troubled system. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
Emotions are high and lines are long to say goodbye to the Queen.
At the moment, the wait's around 7 hours, the line around 2 miles long. This young woman from Connecticut stood in line overnight.
It was very emotional and very poignant. We can just feel the love that everyone has for her.
Occasionally mixed in with ordinary people have been some recognizable figures. Earlier today, former Prime Minister Theresa May walked by and paid her respects.
That's CBS's Steve Futterman in London. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the president will have an important meeting at the White House tomorrow with
Brittany Griner's wife, Sherelle Griner, and Paul Whelan's sister, Elizabeth Whelan, to discuss his continuing commitment to bringing their family members home safely.
And on Sunday, Mr. Biden will do a sit-down interview on 60 Minutes on CBS. He's set to talk about the economy, midterm elections, and the war in Ukraine. Wall Street closed in the red today. The Dow down 173 points, NASDAQ off 167. This is CBS News.
Dell's semi-annual sale has arrived. Save big on PCs with Windows 11 Pro. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
Dell Technologies semi-annual sale has arrived, and it's time to upgrade to the latest business technology. Save big on laptops and desktops with Windows 11 Pro. Plus, get amazing deals on server, storage, and cloud solutions, as well as top work accessories, including docks, monitors, and more. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL for special business offers during our semi-annual sale.
And Doug.
Hey, listener. Welcome to Limu's Karaoke Lounge, where Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need, and the music never stops. Hit it.
There's an emu with a full-time job. His partner's Doug, but Limu's the heartthrob. Grubs and worms, that's what Limu eats. Gotta fuel up to save you money and hit the streets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Uber is going electric, at least for some of its cars.
In the U.S., transportation is the single largest source of planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions.
Beautiful. We have the Uber logo. I love it.
Uber is trying to slash its carbon footprint.
Hello. How's it going?
By incentivizing its drivers to switch to EVs.
But these are not cheap. No, they're not cheap. We need electric vehicles that cost $20,000, $30,000 versus $50,000 to $60,000.
Uber says it's going to spend $800 million to offset some costs for its drivers. It's paying them an extra $1 for every EV trip they make and providing discounts on charging.
That's CBS's Ben Tracy. Are you an active couch potato? You exercise in the morning, then sit on your butt the rest of the day? It's not good. New study says those who exercise for half an hour then are sedentary have higher blood sugar, cholesterol, and body fat. Stacey Lynn, CBS News.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Reminder to subscribe to the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and at WDEVradio.com. Full show there, as well as all of our interviews, including the interview we just did with ESPN's Buster Olney. We're going to get to our six-pack of NFL questions here in a couple of moments, but I have to give you the scoop on last night. The Men's League Hoops opener, a lot of you were very interested in. So I'm playing in the Essex, Parks and Rec League, good men's league. It's not the NBA, but it's a good competitive men's league. It's not pickup ball. So me, former UVM star Mike Trimboli, he of the UVM Athletics Hall of Fame, 2,000 points, 2,000 assists. We're on the same team. And with us, my old radio partner, Arnie Spanier. And Arnie Spanier is more than 60 years old, right? He's the oldest player in the league, I believe, but he's still doing it. I have immense respect for him doing it. So me, Trimboli, Arnie, and 5 other players who are all pretty darn good players as well. So last night we played. We win 117 to 111. So we're 1-0, out to a 1-0 start. Here's the kicker. Trimboli didn't play last night. We put up 117 points and won a game without the best player in the entire league. Like, nobody in the league is as good as Trimboli. We got some very good players in this league. Kid for St. Mike's, who played professionally overseas for a decade. UVM player, Colin McIntosh, who was a starter at UVM his senior year, played with Trimboli. He's very good. Trimboli is the best player in the league. He's got to be, right? Like, still young, not even 35, I don't think. 2,000 points in college, your school's Hall of Fame. He's the best player in the league. 117 points we put up without Trimboli. So that's a good omen. I shot well, had a good day. Most of you don't really care about how I did. I got to shout out my guy, Arnie. Those of you who have been listening to me for a long time, even when I was on another outlet, know that Arnie and I ball, know that we play hoops. Arnie always talks a good game about how good he is, and a lot of you like if he flops or whatever. Arnie was great last night. This is no BS. This is no radio shtick. This is me shouting out my guy, Arnie, who was awesome. He had probably 8 points or so, but he had one of the biggest shots of the night. So we're down with maybe 6 minutes to go, 100 to 96. I look at the scoreboard, 100 to 96. We scored to make it 100 to 98, and we come down. And Arnie, who never goes inside, right, just loves to shoot the three ball. He's good at it. So he doesn't really go inside the three-point line a lot. But he's inside the three-point line. Rebound comes out to him. Puts it right back up and in. Ties us at 100. That was one of the biggest shots of the game. Helped halt their momentum. Helped us go on a 4-0 mini run. Huge bucket for us. Arnie had a big 3 or 2 earlier in the game. That's right. Week 1 of the S6 Parks and Rec Men's League, we win without Trimboli, and Arnie helps lead the way with an 8-point outburst. He was awesome. Text says, good to hear that Arnie is still out there. Arnie is still out there, man, and he was shooting it. Like, this wasn't like, they're leaving the older guy wide open and being nice to him. Nah, this isn't that kind of league. Like, if you're out there, people are D'ing you. People are checking you. And Arnie, man, I told you, I think he had 8 points. I want to say he had 2 threes and a 2. Might be misappropriating, but about 8 points is right. 2 threes and a 2, I think. He probably shot 3 or 4 other shots, but like he's shooting with a hand in his face, shooting guys running at him. That's tough conditions out there. And he's just draining shots. And he hits the big 2 when we needed it. One of the biggest buckets of the game. He was awesome. And it was great to see. I haven't seen Arnie in a while. Arnie and I talk. I've had him on the show before. We BS on through text, but I haven't seen him in a while. And it was good to see him. Looked the same. Played the same. Still in good shape. And went out and drained a couple buckets. And we win by 6. Arnie has 8. You do the math. We don't win without him. Right? We don't win without him. We had a good team. I'm not making any championship proclamations or anything like that, but when we get Trimboli out there, woo! I mean, I think Trimboli averaged like 50 the last time he played in this league. Arnie and I will probably get less shots because Trimboli will be there to score, and that's more than okay. If Trimboli's going to be out there putting up 30, 40, 50, I'll take, me getting 14, 15 if that's what it takes. But we won. Arnie did a great job, and that was awesome. We got Thursday night football tonight between the Chargers and the Chiefs. We've got a full show today. We don't have a full show tomorrow. So what does that mean? It means our 6-pack of NFL questions we do today. Usually we do this on Fridays when we have full shows. Once the Red Sox are done, we have all full shows. We will be doing this on Fridays, but we do it today. Our 6-pack of NFL questions getting you ready for the NFL weekend. Big Boy Sky.
The best game of the NFL weekend is...
Best game of the NFL weekend is the one we're going to watch tonight on Amazon Prime. Chargers at the Chiefs. This game at Arrowhead. Both teams are 1-0. Both teams have AFC West Division crown aspirations. Both teams have Super Bowl aspirations. Both teams have unbelievably good quarterbacks, right? Patrick Mahomes, 5 touchdowns last week. He showed that the retooled Chiefs offense, even without Tyreek Hill, could be great, right? Juju Smith-Schuster, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running backs, receivers, Travis Kelce at tight end. They moved the ball at will against the Arizona Cardinals. That's a Cardinals team that went to the playoffs a year ago. And the Chiefs just demolished them. The Chargers, they're also excellent offensively. Now, they're going to be tested in this game, playing it without Keenan Allen with that hamstring injury, but they've got Mike Williams. They've got Guyton. They've got Austin Eckler. They've got offensive weapons as well, and Justin Herbert is special. A lot of people, I'm not one of them, but a lot of people seem to think that Justin Herbert is better than Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has owned this division. The Chiefs have owned this division. The Chiefs are 25-5 against the AFC West since 2017, but the Chargers have won the last 2 games at Arrowhead. J.C. Jackson's going to play tonight for the Chargers. He didn't play in week 1, so they get better on defense. Khalil Mack had 3 sacks in week 1 against the Raiders. The key to this game to me is going to come down to 2 things. One is Brandon Staley, the Chargers coach. We know how aggressive he is. We know how regularly the Chargers go for it on 4th down. They'll go for it on 4th down. They'll go for it in their own territory. They play the analytics game more than anybody does. If Brandon Staley forfeits points and turns it over on downs to the Chiefs, then the Chiefs are going to have a chance to maybe waltz away with this game. This is what happened last year on Thursday Night Football when Brandon Staley was faced with a lot of decisions like this. If it comes down to Brandon Staley, it'll come down to what those decisions, what their impact is. Also, can the Chargers get pressure with just 3 rushers? Or just 4 rushers, I should say. That's going to be huge. If Khalil Mack and Bosa can get home on Mahomes with 4 guys and they can drop the other 7 in coverage, then you're going to have a chance if you're the Chargers. But if they can't, and if the Chargers have to bring blitzers, well, then Mahomes is going to have open guys somewhere in the field, and he's really good at finding those guys. The best game of the NFL weekend is the game that we're going to see tonight.
The game that intrigues us most is...
The most intriguing game of the NFL weekend, this is the Bucs at the Saints. Both teams won their first games of the year, but they weren't particularly pretty, right? Bucs put up 19 against the Cowboys, so they didn't really do much in the first half. Brady got it going there in the second half a bit, but 19 points in an NFL game these days isn't all that impressive. So the Bucs looked meh. the Saints were down 23-3 against the what are supposed to be woeful Falcons before coming back to win. So they both win, but they both, I think, didn't elicit a whole lot of confidence in week one. Tom Brady has never beaten the Saints in the regular season since going to Tampa. Dennis Allen, who led the defense for the Saints a couple of years when Brady really struggled, well, he's now the head coach. Can he have Brady's number in the same way that Sean Payton had Brady's number? Bucs are playing this one depleted as well. Chris Godwin's not going to play after getting injured. That's going to make more pressure on Mike Evans, who always has a great matchup with Marshawn Lattimore. That, more than anything, makes this matchup intriguing. I mean, the last time these two teams met, it was week 15 of last year, and Evans had one catch against Lattimore. He also got injured. These guys have fought on the field before. So that's an intriguing matchup. That's an intriguing angle. Brady against the Saints. How committed is Brady right now? I can't believe we're asking this, but you saw, the gossip from this week that Giselle said, look, man, I've done my part in this relationship. She said that. She said, I've done my part. It's time to follow my dreams. Tom Brady knows that his wife feels that way. Tom Brady knows that his wife said that. I got to imagine that something is on Tom Brady's mind. I'm not saying he's not committed. Maybe that was the wrong way of putting it, but distracted, a little bit in left field. It's all possible here leading up to this. And Jameis Winston, you want more intrigue? Going up against his former team again. Healthy, coming off the ACL injury. Michael Thomas was great last week in his first game in a couple of years. There's a lot of intrigue in this one. It's an early season divisional matchup, and it's two teams that have Super Bowl aspirations. The NFC is not as good as the AFC. The NFC is more wide open than the AFC is. The Bucs are a team that can do damage. The Saints are also thought to be a team that can do damage.
The bar rescue game of the week is...
The bar rescue game of the week, I still want to change that. I really mean the afternoon nap game of the week. The game that really I have no interest in watching, but I have an interest in falling asleep to, a.k.a. the worst game of the NFL weekend. For me, this is the Jets and the Browns. I'm not really into backup quarterbacks. I'm just not. I love football as much as the next guy, but I am not somebody who is like, I'll watch any football that's on television no matter what. I want to watch good football, and backup quarterbacks don't often provide it. So as long as Joe Flacco is playing for the New York Jets, I'm probably going to put the Jets in this worst game of the NFL weekend category every single week. I've seen enough of Joe Flacco for a lifetime. I saw him get benched in Baltimore. I saw him get benched in Denver. I saw him not be able to get on the field for the Eagles. I saw him not be able to play well for the Jets. I don't want to watch any more Joe Flacco in my life. And on the other side, I get the double backup duty. That makes me doubly not interested. Jacoby Brissett, nice guy, has won some games before, former Patriot, but he doesn't do a whole lot for me either. I watched a lot of the Browns game last week because I wanted to see Baker Mayfield play against his old team. I wasn't watching it for Jacoby Brissett. The Browns interest me in how they deal with fan backlash over Deshaun Watson and all that, but they have a good roster. Amari Cooper, I've always loved watching Nick Chubb. So the Browns have more interesting pieces, but Jacoby Brissett against Joe Flacco, this is not particularly exciting to me. And oh, by the way, the Jets have lost 13 consecutive September games. Think about that. Let's just say on average you play 4 games in September a year. The Jets haven't won a September game in more than 3 years. I don't want to watch the Jets. I don't want to watch backup quarterbacks. Maybe when the Jets win a game in September, they can get off this list. But until then, they very well might be here next week, too.
The player we want to watch most this week is...
Player to watch most, that's Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. Wow. I love watching the best. And this game, Monday Night Football, between the Vikings and the Eagles is going to feature 2 of the best wide receivers in the NFL. In fact, through 1 week, it's the 2 guys that lead the league in receiving yards. And Jefferson at 1 and A.J. Brown at 2. And by the way, Jefferson may very well be coming towards the top spot of the wide receiver rankings. Devontae Adams might be there for now, but Justin Jefferson is coming. 9 catches, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a win at home against the hated Packers. Can this Viking teams now go on the road to a hostile Eagles place, to a hostile Philadelphia, and can they do what they did against Green Bay? Can Jefferson do what he did against Green Bay? Darius Slay is probably going to end up covering him. He's going to have his hands full. Vikings are a lot of people's picks for a team that didn't make the playoffs last year but can do some damage. Jefferson is at the forefront of that. If Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook can get going, even more opportunities are going to be available for Jefferson. We'll see if he can take advantage of them on the road in Philly. Monday Night Football, home opener for the Eagles. Going to be loud, going to be raucous. We'll see what Jefferson can do. How can he follow up his week 1 performance?
The player with the most pressure this week is
Mac Jones. Not even a question. Last week, it was Trey Lance without a question. This week, it's Mac Jones. This is simple to me for a few different reasons. One, this is a must-win game for the Patriots. I know you don't think week 2 is a must-win. This is a must-win. The Patriots cannot afford to start 0-2, not with Baltimore and Green Bay upcoming on the schedule. There's pressure there. You have to win. There's also pressure on Mac Jones because this feels different now than it did a year ago. It feels like whether he's ready to or not, Mac Jones is going to have to play a bigger part in aiding victories at the beginning of the year. He's not going to get a whole lot of help from his offensive line at this point. He hasn't gotten a lot of help from his receivers who still can't get open. He hadn't gotten a whole lot of help from his coaching staff right now and how they've handled the Kendrick Bourne thing. Mac Jones is going to have to do this more on his own than he did in the past, and this is a different level of pressure. Then you add in the fact he's on the road for a 2nd consecutive week. He's banged up with the back issue. Mac Jones not at practice today because he's sick, not COVID-related, but sick. This start is coming under more adverse circumstances. And finally, there's pressure on Mac Jones because this is a game where Mac Jones is the better quarterback. In the NFL, you have to win games when you have the better quarterback, and the Patriots do. We think Mac's probably better than Tua. He failed at that a week ago. He can't fail at it this week. And how many times this year are we really going to say that Mac Jones is the better quarterback? Right? Less than half, I would say. So you have to take full advantage of this. Mac Jones is better than Mitch Trubisky. His team needs to capitalize. He needs to capitalize. This is a must-win game, and he's got all the pressure on him. I know they're on the road. I think Pittsburgh is the favorite right now. I don't care. Mac Jones he's got the most pressure of anybody.
The most amazing NFL stat of the weekend is...
The most amazing NFL stat of the weekend comes out of tonight's game, and I'm not big into talking about gambling. I enjoy gambling a bit. I know what the lines are. I know who's favored. I understand how it all works. I just don't talk about gambling a lot. But tonight's game has one of the more incredible gambling stats I've ever seen. So if that's your thing, well, deal with this responsibly. So the over-under for Chiefs-Chargers today is 54.5. Okay, 54.5. On Thursday Night Football, since 1990, games played on Thursday, there have been 7 of them, right, where the over-under was 54.5 or higher. The under has hit by an average of nearly 14 points. So history tells you that Vegas is expecting a shootout. Vegas is telling you, or history is telling you, this game is going to disappoint on that front, right? Over-under's 54.5. We're expecting a track meet, 31-30. That would be over at 61. History is telling you that we're going to see something in the range of about 41 points, like 21-20 instead of 31-30. Don't do a ton of gambling stats, but that one I couldn't resist. The under is the play here historically. Maybe Mahomes and Herbert can buck that trend, but the under is the play here historically. That's your 6-pack of NFL questions. We do that usually Friday, but Thursday this week because we have a more full show here on WDEV and the Brady Farkas Show. A couple of texts here on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Ralph says, you truly hate Joe Flacco. There has to be another reason. Then again, you don't like Jared Goff either. I didn't like Jared Goff when Jared Goff was on the Rams because Jared Goff would always beat the Seahawks. So that's why I didn't like Jared Goff. Now that Jared Goff is on the Lions, I'm rooting for Jared Goff because I have a soft spot for Dan Campbell and the Lions. And as someone who loves the Mariners, a awful team historically, I want the Lions to get off the mat. So I'm rooting for Jared Goff now. So pure jealousy is why I didn't like Jared Goff before. As for Joe Flacco is just boring and not very good. It's not that I dislike Joe Flacco. I dislike watching Joe Flacco. I don't want to watch. Look at what Joe Flacco does. Joe Flacco does not have any athleticism, so he doesn't provide me any of that spark. Joe Flacco has been playing on bad teams now for a number of years, so it's not like he can just get the ball out of his hands and let the athletes do something. So Joe Flacco plays on bad teams, doesn't have great athleticism. Joe Flacco throws a nice deep ball, but doesn't really have any weapons that you fear. Like, as we sit here right now, I haven't done all my Jets research, but as I sit here right now, I can't think of one Jets receiver off the top of my head. So somebody who's a Jets fan can tell me, and maybe I will have forgotten somebody I should be remembering, but, like, I can think of DK Metcalf off the top of my head, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb. I can think of, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I can think of, Chase Claypool. I can think of guys who are really good receivers right off the top of my head. Okay, Garrett Wilson. Okay, great. That's a first-round pick out of Ohio State, if I'm remembering correctly. Like, that's who Joe Flacco has. I'm just not interested. Corey Davis, the old Titan. Peter's killing it here on telling me the Jets' depth chart. Corey Davis is a guy who's been a deep threat in his career. I'm just not interested in Joe Flacco. Matt in Bolton. Brady, I think the absence of T.J. Watt will help the Patriots and Mac. I hope so. I mean, the Patriots are catching a huge break and the T.J. Watt's not playing. I never root for anybody to get injured, right? This is their livelihood. I don't want people injured. I want teams at their best. I want players at their best, playing as well as they can, making as much money as they can. So I'm not for T.J. Watt being hurt. But the Patriots are catching a huge break. They've got to be able to capitalize. I mean, this is going to be one of less than half of the games that Mac is the better quarterback. I mean, okay, he's going to be better than Zach Wilson for 2 matchups, right? There's 2 of the 17. I think he's better than Tua, so that would be 4. He's going to be better than Jacoby Brissett, that's 5. He'll be better than Goff, that's 6. He'll be better than Trubisky, that's 7. That's 7 of 17. And right off the top of my head now, I can't think of the others. He's not better than Lamar. He's not better than Aaron Rodgers. He's not better than Matt Ryan at this point. He's not better than Joe Burrow. Justin Fields will probably be better than at this point. So that's 8, but probably about, half the games or less. So you got to capitalize. Kyle in South Burlington, if the Steelers get to Mac like they did Burrow, he may have more sickness to worry about, or he may have more than sickness to worry about. Yeah, again, the Joe Burrow threw 4 picks and fumbled, if I'm remembering correctly, in that loss for the Bengals. I mean, and Joe Burrow got hit. The Patriots now the Bengals offensive line is really bad and remains bad, but they invested in it in the offseason. The Patriots offensive line hasn't looked good, and Trent Brown got added to the injury report earlier today with an ankle issue, because that's just what happens with Trent Brown. He ends up on the injured report. So we will see. We will see. The Patriots, this is a must-win, because with Baltimore and Green Bay coming, you cannot afford to be 0-2, because you could be 0-4 in a heartbeat. Last year, Pat started out 1-3 and were able to still make the playoffs. That doesn't feel likely to me this year.
Whoa. What did he say?
They have an expensive but totally unimpressive receiving core, and they have at absolute best, at most charitable, the 9th best quarterback in their own conference.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Another text says, I think the Patriots are in trouble this week, even without TJ Watt. We'll stick with the Patriots for Who's Saying What here. Who's Saying What is brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. That's Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. So unlimited car washes are $20 a month. If you want just one free car wash, well, it's free. There you go. It's free. So one free car wash, you can just text the word Vermont to the number 30 and then 400. That's number 30 and then 400. So sticking with the Patriots beaten 20-7. They head to Pittsburgh now. And here we are. Notorious Patriots hater Nick Wright at it again, saying the Patriots offense is a 5-alarm fire.
The offense is going to be one of the 6 worst in the NFL. That's going to happen. They had 2 major offseason offensive additions. One was Cole Strange, the draft pick that nobody understood why they drafted him. He got benched during the game. They didn't put him back in.
No, it was hot down there.
The other was Devontae Parker, the wide receiver who Warren Sharp has pointed this out, is 72nd out of 72 qualifiers of wide receivers as far as getting separation. He played 100% of the snaps and caught 1 ball and was targeted twice.
Here's the thing. I want to tell you that Nick Wright is an idiot. I want to push back on what Nick Wright says. He is a Patriots hater, unabashedly. But right now, sadly, I can't. I can't push back on what Nick Wright's saying right now. I don't know if they're truly going to be one of the 6 worst offenses in the NFL. Are they going to be worse than Jacksonville or Atlanta or Washington or Seattle or Carolina or Dallas without Dak? That I don't know. But here's what I do know. They better not be one of the 6 worst offenses in the NFL. The Patriots better not be that bad offensively, because this team needs its offense to be a driver for it. Coming into the year, I felt very, very confident that the Patriots offense would be the better of its 2 main units. If that's not the case, then we have a huge issue on our hands. The defense doesn't feel good enough to carry this team. Good enough to keep it in games? Probably. Good enough to carry? No. The offense needs to carry this roster. They've invested in the offense. They invested at wide receiver, Aguilar, Bourne, and Parker. They invested at tight end with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. They've invested at running back with draft picks in the last couple of years. And they invested in the quarterback position with the selection of Mac Jones. They've put real resources into the offense in a way they haven't into the defense. The analysts say you should put resources into the offense. And if it's not capable of carrying this team, then something has been done wrong. That's another reason why this weekend is so huge for Mac, why he is under all that pressure we just talked about. He needs to prove that he can lead this offense. He needs to prove that he can lead this team. He needs to prove that he can overcome obstacles and overcome issues on his own. It's the kind of questions that people like me have been asking. Is Mac good enough to overcome dysfunction? Is he special enough? If he is, he'll win this game. If Mac Jones is special, he'll win this game on Sunday. On the road, 0-1, back against the wall, questions about your play caller, questions about your line, questions about your receivers. If he's special, like a lot of you have told me that he is, then he will win this game. If he is not special, then if he doesn't win this game, that's going to prove a lot. Okay? I think the Patriots will win. I think Mac will rise to the challenge this week. I am putting my money on Mac this week. Usually, I tell you Mac's not special enough. I think this week he's going to play special. I do. I think he's going to play better than he is this week. If he can't win this game, though, that's going to show us something. I'd like to think the Patriots win this game. Tex says, can't we agree Mac Jones is swimming uphill? Yes, we can. If Mac can't go or gets hurt, would you go with Hoyer or Zappy? Maybe you bring Jimmy G back. Well, you're not bringing Jimmy G back on Thursday night to start on Sunday. So that's not going to matter for week 2. If Mac was ever seriously hurt, the 49ers would be my first call. 100% would be my first call. I would say Brian Hoyer would be the starter if Mack can't go. Now, Mack has said he plans on going, right? I'm under the impression his back is good enough to go, and I'm under the impression his sickness is just a stomach bug thing and that he'll play. If he couldn't for any reason, it'd be Brian Hoyer. And then at that point, the Patriots would be 0-2. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Let's deviate from football for a bit. UVM men's basketball league schedule came out this week. What you need to know, and something I wish the league didn't do. I'll tell you that next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
You care about making a difference. Every day, the Vermont Community Foundation works with families, businesses, and individuals like you to create a charitable giving plan that explores your vision and values and defines what giving means to you. With our insight about philanthropy and expert advising staff, a donor-advised fund at the Vermont Community Foundation brings that vision to life and makes it easy to find and fund the causes you love. We want your giving to have the greatest impact and make a difference in Vermont and beyond. The Vermont Community Foundation is your resource, your thought partner, and your trusted collaborator for all things charitable giving. Start your journey of giving today by opening a donor-advised fund with the Vermont Community Foundation. To learn more, visit vermontcf.org/icare.
Looking for a fun way to support the Vermont Mountaineers? Well, here it is. Join headliner Chad Hollister's large band with special guests, the VT Bluegrass Pioneers, for an evening of music, games, and drinks, all in support of the Vermont Mountaineers. Gates open at 4 with music from 6 to 9. There'll be kids' games and drinks from Bar Hill. Perfect Pitch, a benefit for the Vermont Mountaineers, Saturday, September 24th at Bar Hill in Montpelier. Tickets available at chadmusic.com.
Changing seasons means changing routines. Life can get hectic and stressful, so make time for yourself and your health. Discover the positive effects of holistic health methods like acupuncture, reflexology, chiropractic care, Reiki, cupping, or massage. Waterbury has so many great wellness businesses, so you're sure to find your perfect fit. Or if you want to relax and rejuvenate with a salon or spa day, Waterbury has those too. Facials, hair, nails, treat yourself to some feel-good fun. Find your peace in Waterbury. Visit discoverwaterbury.com to learn more about all the wonderful health and wellness businesses. School is back, and Al Karen and the team at Waterbury Service Center want to remind you that road safety is more important than ever. Be alert while driving, especially around buses and children. Be sure to stay safe on the drive to school or wherever else, and as the weather changes, that means good tires. Start planning ahead now, including buying and switching them out. The good news is that Al Karen and the team at Waterbury Service Center are ready to help. Schedule an appointment now for tire changes, oil changes, annual inspection, brakes, or any other maintenance needs. Waterbury Service Center is a full-service auto mechanic conveniently located in downtown Waterbury. Call 802-244-7202 to make an appointment.
The Street Rods are returning to Burlington for the 28th Annual Northeast Street Rod Nationals, Friday, September 23rd through Sunday, the 25th at the Champlain Valley Exposition Center. There'll be tons of street rods, hot rods, customs, muscle cars, and more. A women's world, arts and crafts fair, a vintage swap meet, and a host of vendors and manufacturers. Discount tickets for seniors, active military, NSRA members, and new this year, a family discount. Plus, get discount tickets at O'Reilly Auto Parts. The 28th Annual Northeast Street Rod Nationals, produced by the National Street Rod Association.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. UVM men's basketball conference schedule came out earlier this week, and some very interesting things on this schedule. I'll tell you just kind of the basics of what you need to know, right? So we know the season starts again November 7th when they host Brown, but the league season begins on January 1st. So conference season begins January 1st, New Year's Day. It's a road game against UMBC. The home opener for the Catamounts in the league is January 5th against Bryant. That's the newcomer to the league and likely their biggest challenger. Their conference season ends February 28th at home against UAlbany. There are 16 league games, 8 at home, 8 on the road. And for the first time in years, the schedule does not include Stony Brook, who is left for the CAA, It also does not include Hartford. And now we knew that Hartford was dropping out of Division I, but we also thought that transition was taking a couple of years. So Hartford is out of the America East schedule. But it's very interesting. I got to do some more research on this because I was under the impression they would be playing Hartford this year. Well, Hartford's not on the schedule. If you look at Hartford's website, they have no schedule for this year. If you look at Hartford's schedule on ESPN.com, they've got them playing games, but none of which are in a league. They've got them playing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They got them playing 7 games. So I don't know what is true here with Hartford, but they are not on the America East schedule. So we had gotten used to 18 games in the America East schedule. This is 16 games. Hartford and Stony Brook out, Bryant in, so 16 games. Let me just give you some of my quick takeaways. One, I think this is a very fair schedule for UVM, right? Very fair. There's no 3-game road trips at all in the schedule. That's a good thing for travel, but also academics and playing on the road. Playing on the road is hard, even for a good program like UVM. There's no 3-game road trips. That's important. And 2, they end their league season at home, and they end it with 4 of their last 6 at home. So as you talk about maybe, hopefully, at the end of the year, trying to secure a league regular season championship and home court advantage in the America East playoffs, you want to be playing your best basketball at the end of the year. Your last game is at home. 4 of your last 6 games are at home. So all in all, I think the schedule is pretty fair. Here's what I don't like about the schedule, though. I don't like that the league schedule begins on New Year's Day. Post-holidays are always weird, right? Post-holidays are always weird. And putting a game on right on New Year's Day, right on a holiday, to me, I think that is tough. I also don't think, so I think that game could be very sloppy, right? You've got Christmas, then the team's going to go to Miami and play on the 28th in a game that they're going to be all hopped up for to try to beat a Power 5 team. Then they're going to come back and, it's the holidays. I know they're not going to be going out on New Year's Eve getting hammered. I understand that. But post-holidays just always tend to be a little bit sloppy. I imagine that they'll go right from Miami to Baltimore to UMBC to play there on the 1st. But still, you're talking about a lot of travel. You're talking about a lot of time away. I just don't love that the schedule begins on New Year's Day. I wish that these guys would be able to come back to Burlington, get their legs under them again, and open up the season on like January 3rd or January 5th. I also don't love this for the fans. The fans playing on New Year's Day? Now, more people are off work. I get it. People can go to games, but that's not a great day to go out and see UVM hoops. The fans are also recovering from the night before. The fans are, going out and doing, spending family time. New Year's Day basketball to me is not something that I love that the league has done this. I also don't love that the league has put UVM and Bryant against each other so early in the schedule. These two teams appear to be at the head of the class in the league. It's certainly a possible league championship preview. I'd like to see some build up to it rather than see it played in game 2. They play each other in the second game of the season for UVM in the league. They play each other in the second to last game of the regular season. The matchups are very spread out. I'd like to bring them closer together. I'd like to see them play their 8th conference game and their last conference game against each other. I'd love the first matchup to be when both teams are 7-0 and there's some real anticipation about it for the league. Instead, we see them at the very beginning of the year where the two teams won't be at their best and the game doesn't mean as much. If these are the two best teams in the league, I'd rather see them play at the end of the first half of the schedule and at the end of the regular season. And if let's just say they play each other on February 1st, February 28th, and then again they could play in a week after that to play for the America East title or a week and a half after, you're talking about 3 matchups in 5 weeks. That would be a chance to create a rivalry, a chance to create some animosity, a chance to create some bad blood. All that is good for the league. Playing them on the second game of the league season and the second to last game of the league season, I'm less interested in that. I want to bring these matchups closer together. I want them to mean more. I want them to have build-up and anticipation to them. Nobody's building up to the second league game of the season. I'd rather see it in Game 8 where both teams are 7-0 and there's a real discernible buzz. I think the league had a great chance to create that buzz, and I think they missed it. I think they missed their chance. I just didn't love the sequencing of the schedule. And I am excited about Bryant joining the league. I was wrong about them before. When I first heard that Bryant might join the league, I wasn't that interested. But from a basketball perspective, this is going to be good for UVM. Bryant's got a real program, a real resume, a real reputation, a ton of transfers, some high major transfers. Doug Eddard from St. Peter's fame of getting to the Elite Eight that they got to. Bryant's a good program, better than I gave it credit for. So I'm excited to see them enter the league. And I'm already pumped for hoop season. And I gotta temper my thoughts here, because a couple of weeks ago, with all the turnover on the roster and all the new players, I was kind of ready for UVM to go, 11-5 in the league. Just kind of accepting, hey, it's not going to be as good as it's been. Not anymore. When I saw the schedule come out, I'm like, there's no way this team loses 5 games. I'm expecting this team to be somewhere between 14-2 and 16-0 again. That's how I think the schedule will play out for them. Again, I got to kind of stop drinking the Kool-Aid, but I do think it was, I do think they're going to be very good again. Texter says, Brady, I love your intro music on this segment. That's Sirius by the Alan Parsons Project. They say, I was there in Chicago for the Bulls' second three-peat. That music always gives me chills. Yes, that was the running of the Bull intro music when the Bulls would come out. We'll step aside and get ready for the last segment. Red Sox and Aaron Judge. We'll talk about it. That's next on DEV.
Marvin windows are designed for unprecedented performance and exceptional aesthetics. Marvin's expansive window portfolio has every style you can imagine, all of them crafted with the highest quality material and the ability to mix and match across product lines that allows you to achieve the right form and function for your residential, commercial, and replacement needs. See our Marvin specialist at Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber in Middlesex, St. Albans, Enosburg, Swanton, and Derby, or online at sticksandstuff.com.
Pack and Send Plus is Waterbury's full-service ship and print center. In need of a banner or sign for your party, wedding, or yard sale? Then look no further. Pack and Send Plus has you covered. Right on the Rotary in Waterbury.
Changing seasons means changing routines. Life can get hectic and stressful, so make time for yourself and your health. Discover the positive effects of holistic health methods like acupuncture, reflexology, chiropractic care, Reiki, cupping, or massage. Waterbury has so many great wellness businesses, so you're sure to find your perfect fit. Or if you want to relax and rejuvenate with a salon or spa day, Waterbury has those too. Facials, hair, nails, treat yourself to some feel-good fun. Find your peace in Waterbury. Visit discoverwaterbury.com to learn more about all the wonderful health and wellness businesses.
Pack and Send Plus is Waterbury's full-service ship and print center. In need of a banner or sign for your party, wedding, or yard sale? Then look no further. Pack and Send Plus has you covered. Right on the Rotary in Waterbury.
Just because you're away from your radio or out of our broadcast range doesn't mean you have to miss out. Listen live on the WDEV stream, brought to you by AARP Vermont. WDEV's morning, midday, and afternoon news services, Vermont Viewpoint, and the Brady Farkas Show can all be found on the WDEV stream at WDEVradio.com. Brought to you by AARP Vermont, working to bring down the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans. AARP.org/VT.
For some people, all they need to know about weather is the high temperature for the day. But if you're one of those people who really wants to understand the hows and whys of weather, especially here in the Green Mountain State, Then Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is for you. Some of the topics I'll explore are the types of precipitation, global temperature averages, and tropical cyclones. Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is available at WDEVradio.com, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Hi, Albert here from Waterbury Service Center on Main Street. We're seeing a lot of out-of-town customers on vacation here. Glad you're here. However, they're stopping here because of car problems. When you're headed out on vacation, stop here at Waterbury Service Center first. We'll check your hoses, your belts, thermostat to make sure there's no coolant leaks and make sure you have enough coolant for the trip. If the coolant is low or undegraded and the thermostat's sticking, you could have overheating problems. So thank you for your continued support. Serving you well is important to us. See you soon at Waterbury Service Center on Main Street.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Let's talk a little bit more about the idea of Aaron Judge to the Red Sox. Judge has 57 home runs. He's certainly one of the game's best players and one of its brightest stars. Before I get into the full meat of this segment, let me just make a few things abundantly clear. Aaron Judge at a 10-year investment for $350 million is not a good investment for the Red Sox. It's just not smart. He's not built to last, and I don't want that kind of risk. I would not do that deal. 10 years, $350 million. As I discussed with both Tom Caron and Buster this week, I do think that Aaron Judge is a great investment on a short-term deal, and I'd overpay him per year to make that a reality. 1 year, $50 million, I'd be interested. 3 years, $140 million, I'd be interested. Huge money for a short time, I'd be willing to strongly consider. I'd explore that offer. I don't believe that Judge would accept it. I don't believe his representation would accept it. And Buster Olney told us he thought the same thing earlier.
My sense is that he's looking for the big long-term deal, that, the number of years is going to be really important.
So that's what Buster says. He doesn't think he would accept anything but a big long-term deal. So that's where I stand. Okay. I want the Red Sox to bring back Devers and Bogarts. I'd be willing to consider Judge on a high money short-term deal. I don't believe that he would consider it. So that's where I stand. Here's where John Tomasi of NBC Sports Boston stands.
It's where the Red Sox are at right now. The more you think about it, the more you realize that the Red Sox need stars. I am not interested in watching the Tampa Bay version of a winning team with nobody that you recognize, where the pieces are always changing year after year. If you can go out and get Aaron Judge, even though I know 6'7", 280, he is probably not built to last, turns 31 in April, probably not built to last. It's Aaron bleeping Judge, and if you can steal him from the Yankees, and if you can put yourself back on the map as a destination for big-time free agents, are we really going to complain if the Red Sox sign Aaron Judge?
So Tomasi's saying, risk be damned, go get the guy. Here's what I'll say to that. I will hear the arguments about signing Judge long-term. I wouldn't do it, but I'll listen to that debate. What I don't want to hear is that the Red Sox need to get Aaron Judge because they need to gain relevance again and because they need to be front and center again. That's what I don't want to hear. I am into winning baseball games. I am not into just winning the back pages, okay? And I understand television networks and newspapers and websites, they need attention. I get they're in the attention business. I'm interested in winning. I am interested in the Red Sox winning. I'm not interested in the tabloid battle. I'm not interested in just stealing from the Yankees. I'm not interested in winning the back page of the Boston Globe. I don't want the Red Sox to just do things for attention. I want them to do things because it's the right baseball move. Tomasi says he doesn't want to see the Tampa Baying of the Red Sox roster. Well, look, I'd take that. The Rays win a lot of baseball games. He says he doesn't want to see him where you don't spend money and the pieces get interchanged out. The Red Sox have already spent on Trevor Story. They've shown that they'll spend money. And here's also what I'll say, and I'll leave you on this for the day. If you do Chaim Bloom's plan correctly, right? If you execute this thing right, the Red Sox are going to build their own stars. They won't need to steal the Yankees' star. He said, Tomasi says, you need stars. If you do this thing the right way, you're going to build your own. Remember Rafi Devers and Xander Bogaerts? They came from within. So did Mookie Betts. Maybe Tristan Casas is that guy. Maybe Marcelo Mayer is that guy. I am not making stupid financial moves just for the sake of gaining relevance and for gaining attention. And, just because we need a star. If you do this right, you can have your own stars, Bogaerts and Devers, and you can develop a wave of new stars in Casas or Mayer or some of the other guys that are or Bayo in your farm system. You do it right, you get your own stars. If you want to sign Aaron Judge because it's the best baseball move, then do it. If you want to take risk on Aaron Judge because you think you can win in the 1 to 3 years that he's got that will be great, then I'll listen to that. I don't want the Red Sox to go make bad financial investments just for the sake of doing it, just for the sake of some good press. That is not a smart business strategy. Texter says, I see the Mets being the perfect place for Judge. Perfect and a super rich owner. It's possible. Certainly possible. The Mets will absolutely be in on it. The Angels could be in on it. They're in on everybody always. He's from California. The Giants could be in on it. He's from, he went to Fresno State. So it's all possible. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next. Tomorrow we're at it on a Football Talk Friday. Phil Perry, our NBC Sports Boston Pats insider, will be with us at 5:45. Short show tomorrow. We'll go up until just 6:10, but we will have a show for you. Again, Phil Perry tomorrow as well. Have a good night of sleeping, everybody, in those cool temperatures. I can't wait for that. Go download the podcast. We'll see you tomorrow on DEV.
A satisfied customer is the best source for repeat business and enthusiasm.